Welcome back, everyone. So right now we're going to continue with the FSMO roles. This is actually the last, I would say, lecture on FSMO roles. I know FSMO roles is like a lot that we actually talked about, but I want to set up another domain, a child domain. As you see, we have a parent domain, and I want to actually set up a child domain. We actually have one forest now. It means one tree. Minimum of domains per tree is one. Now I'm going to have two domains in the same tree. That's why I'm going to have a parent and a child domain, as you see. So what I'm going to do is let me go back. What I did is also in the background, I set up a third server, guys. Now you don't have to do this if you have enough memory and resources. I know I mentioned 16 gigs because not everybody can get 32. You probably only have 16. You could lower it like 3 gigs each. It will be slower, but you could actually set it up. So what I did is I just named it and I gave it the next available number just to show you. And DNS is pointing the preferred DNS is server one and the alternate is server two. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to go to manage, add roles and features. And why am I doing this? Because I want to talk about the forest and domain FSMO roles. Remember, some of them are per forest and some of them are actually per domain. Let me go next. And for a big organization, I would say more than thousands of users, you should have another domain. One domain will not be enough. You're going to tell me, well, how about if we go ahead and have multiple domain controllers in the same domain? Well, it's still one domain. So the PDC belongs per domain. So that's why I set up another domain. So I have the PDC, RID, and infrastructure per domain. What's going to be shared at the forest level is actually the schema master and the domain name master. That's what's going to be shared at the forest level. So remember, let me go back here. So you have the PDC, the RID, and the infrastructure master, right? These are actually per domain. So these over here are per a domain. Every domain has their own PDC, emulator, RID master, and infrastructure. The ones that are actually per a forest is only two of them, right? Which is the schema master, right? And the domain naming master, the name master, right? So as you see, there's a difference between them. That's why I want to set up another domain, but I still have one tree in my forest, right? What makes up a forest? One or more trees. What makes up a tree? One or more domains. The first domain that we set up is the forest domain, is the parent domain, right? So let's keep that in mind. This one's almost done. So for me to set up an actual another domain, I have to have enterprise admin rights, not domain admin rights. Do you remember this? Let me go back to server one and show you. Server one and two are hosting the parent domain. Let me just put the password and show you what I got here. And here's Active Directory. What I want to show you is the following. I do have the domain admin per domain. That means if you're just a member of domain admins, you have full control just to that domain. And I have enterprise admin. This is only at the parent domain. I'm not going to see this on a child or a tree domain. So this means you have full control to the entire forest. And this means you have full control to the entire domain. Administrator is a member of both of these groups. So if I go to enterprise admins, members, I'll see administrator, domain admins, members, I do see administrators. So I need an account that has full control to the forest to set up a new domain, right? Because I'm not working with an existing domain, I'm working with an actual new domain. So let me promote and show you. So if I say add a new domain to an existing forest, which is either a child or a tree domain, what's the name of the parent? Well, the name of the parent is Udemy, not local, right? And what is a child? I could say it could be like a branch office, right? It could be like an actual department. I could say support. Let's say support, just support, right? So this can be something like that. Change, and I need to have enterprise admin rights. So Udemy slash what? Administrator, right? And then put the password. So there you go, right? So that's one thing that I'm actually going to. So I have enterprise admin rights. For me to set up a new domain, what needs to be up and running, guys? The domain naming master, because it wants to make sure that the domain names are unique, right? They have to be unique, guys. So who's the domain name master right now? Let me just show you. So when I go ahead and log on to my second server and I say netdom query FSMO, it's going to tell me that the domain name master is actually on server two, all right? Server two actually has it. What I want to do is I want to shut down server two. I want to show you what's going to happen. So watch this. I'm going to close this out, or I could do is player, let's say removable network adapter and just say disconnect my NIC card. All right. So it's like it's not online, no connections. Let me minimize this just to make things easier. And let me show you what's going to happen when I go next. It's not going to work. Why? Because I actually need an actual FSMO role, which is a naming master, to actually come up with a new domain name because I need to make sure the domain names are unique. All right. So look how it's going to fail. So let me show you. This is how I could prove to you that I actually need the domain name master to set up another domain. Watch this. Let's give it a moment so you can see. And it's going to fail because my naming master is not up and running. So there you go. Okay, you cannot create because the domain, look what it says. The naming master is not there. Do you guys see that? It knows I could seize the role on server one. I just wanted to prove to you a point over here. So if I go back to server two and I go to player, let's say my network adapter and connect. Now it's no longer an X. All right. Now I go next. Look how it's going to work right away. So I'm going to have support.udemy.local. That's my new domain name, right? I could say DNS. See, I did not create DNS. I just wanted to show you what I'm going to get. I'm going to make it a global catalog in the same site, same function level, and I'm going to put a password here just to show you. Look what's going to happen. I'm going to remove the check mark from the box because I'm pointing to a valid one. Look, if I try to remove, I cannot remove it. Because I never configured DNS. Remember, prior I was able to, but look, I got this thing over here because I never configured DNS. So you know what? I'm going to leave it as it is. Go next. Let it do it for me and finish all the way through. And then I wanted to show you the FSMA roles on the parent versus the FSMA roles on the child. So I'm going to go next. This looks good, right? So I showed you the domain naming master, like the actual proof how it actually works. Like leave everything as default. Next, and let's give it a few more seconds, and it's going to start promoting, guys. The parent domain will have full control to the child domain, but the child domain only has read access to the parent, by the way, because the parent has an enterprise admins and a domain admins. The child domain only has domain admin rights. Look, it's checking the forest upgrade status because I'm setting up something new in the forest. I have another domain, but it belongs to the same tree. So I have two domains in the forest right now, but I still have one actual tree. So what makes up a forest? One or more trees. What makes up a tree? One or more domains. So let's give this a moment. It's going to take a few seconds. I'm going to pause the video for a moment, then it's going to restart. So I'll come back to you guys in a moment. All right. So we'll see you guys in a moment. Well, all right, guys. Let's go back and continue. My third server is actually done. Let me just go ahead and log on. See, you see that support/administrator. That's the name of the new domain. So let me log on and show you something here. The FSMA roles, this one is going to have its own FSMA roles. The PDC, RID, and infrastructure, those are actually per a domain. So let me just prove that. Let me go to the font and change this. And okay. So watch this. netdom space query space FSMA. And take a look now. Look what this is going to show us. This is going to have its own PDC, RID, and infrastructure. See that? It's pointing to itself. But look, schema domain is per forest. You see that? So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing is when I go to tools and I open Active Directory users and computers, I'm not going to see an enterprise admin over here, only domain admin. Let me just show you. It's actually good to see this. See, there's only domain admin. So if this one connects to the parent, there is because there's an automatic trust. You see this? Now it looks better, right? And then okay. I'm not gonna have full control. See, everything is grayed out. I only can read. But if I go to the parent domain, either server, it doesn't matter which server, All right. And let me log on and show you. And if I right click and I say change domain and I browse and I connect to the child domain and I click OK, now look, this is not grayed out. I have full control. You see that? So remember, some FSMO roles are per forest, which are the schema and the domain name master, and some are per domain, which is a PDC RID and infrastructure. So that's what I wanted to actually show you. That was the purpose for me to set up like another domain in an existing forest so I could show you that some FSMA roles are per domain and some FSMA roles are actually per a forest. All right, so that's all good for the FSMA roles. One more thing is the Schema Master. I'm going to show you how that's extended, but when we actually merge with a 2022 server, all right, a server 2022. So you'll see that in the future lecture. But for now, we're done with the FSMA roles. I'm going to go to our next section. So we'll see you guys soon. All right, folks. Later.